Graham, what if I told you there's a lab in Switzerland where they're building computers out of living human neurons?
I'd say that sounds expensive, complicated, and nothing to do with my business. Why should I care?
Because the energy costs driving this research are about to hit your Azure bills hard.
Bloody hell. Today's topic just got properly mental.
He's the guy with the plan for your online life. Keeps your data safe, cuts through the strife. Small biz owners, yeah, this is your guide. Cyber threats, beware, no place to hide. The small business cybersecurity guy, guarding your world with a sharp eagle eye. Tips and tricks to keep your systems tight. Stay secure, stay strong in the digital fight.
Right then, lovely listeners, welcome back to the Small Business Cybersecurity Guy podcast. I'm Noel Bradford, joined by Mauven McLeod and Graham Faulkner.
And before anyone asks, yes, I'm still processing what Noel just said about brain cells powering computers. That's not normal, right?
Define normal. When he sent me the research brief for today's episode, I genuinely thought he'd finally cracked under the pressure of 40 years in technology.
Living neurons powering computers does sound completely barking mad, doesn't it?
Barking mad doesn't cover it. It sounds like someone watched Frankenstein, got absolutely trolleyed, and decided it was a technical manual rather than a cautionary tale.
Fair assessment. But here's the thing that makes this fascinating rather than just weird. This could solve a problem that's going to hit every small business owner listening to us right now, straight in the wallet.
Now you've got my attention. However, I'm still processing the mental image of brain cells hooked up to electrodes in some Swiss laboratory.
That's exactly what's happening. Two scientists, Dr. Martin Kutter and Dr. Fred Jordan, both with PhDs in signal processing from EPFL. They'd already built one successful company, Outvision, that specialised in anti-counterfeiting. Could have retired comfortably.
But instead, they decided to build Frankenstein's computer. That's quite the career pivot.
They spent years trying every possible approach with traditional silicon hardware. Spiking neural networks, genetic programming, and every variation the literature offered. Nothing delivered what they wanted.
So naturally they thought, you know what? Let's just use actual neurons instead. Because that's a perfectly reasonable next step when your silicon experiments don't work.
When you phrase it like that, it does sound slightly unhinged. But here's why it matters, Graham. Training a single large AI model produces the same carbon emissions as 5 cars create during their entire lifetime.
Wait, 5 complete cars? Not 5 journeys, 5 whole cars, manufactured, driven for years, then scrapped?
Exactly, though that statistic is actually from 2019. Modern models like GPT-4 produce 50 to 100 times more emissions than that. Listeners, your business uses AI now, whether you realise it or not. Microsoft Copilot is reading your emails, ChatGPT is helping your marketing team, and whatever customer service chatbot your website vendor convinced you needed. Every interaction burns energy. Every query costs carbon.
Right, and I'm guessing those costs eventually find their way down to small businesses through increased cloud hosting bills, higher SaaS subscription fees, and generally making life more expensive for everyone.
Spot on. Energy costs always roll downhill. Data centres worldwide consumed about 1.5% of global electricity as of 2024. That's projected to reach around 3% by 2030. AI is accelerating that growth exponentially, which is why Meta, Google, and OpenAI, etc. are all seriously talking about building or recommissioning nuclear power stations to power it all.
So these Swiss scientists think living neurons are the answer? How does that even work? And more importantly, what's it got to do with me running a 23-person business in Bolton?
Their company's called FinalSpark. They've built something called the Neuroplatform. It's running right now in Vevey, Switzerland. Approximately 10,000 living human neurons per organoid, with 16 organoids total. That's roughly 160,000 neurons system-wide, all grown from skin cells, housed in specialised chambers.
When you say living neurons, you mean actual biological cells, not simulations.
Actual biological matter. They're called brain organoids. Neurons, grown in laboratory conditions, are connected to electrical systems. Researchers send electrical signals to the neurons. The neurons respond.
That's properly extraordinary. They're programming living cells.
Exactly that. And here's where it gets interesting for our listeners. The system is accessible remotely. Scientists from 10 universities worldwide connect online to run experiments on these living neurons.
From where? I'm assuming not just Swiss universities.
University of Michigan, Free University of Berlin, University of Exeter, Lancaster University, Leipzig, University of York, Oxford Brookes, Bath, Bristol, University Côte d'Azur in France, and the University of Tokyo. 10 groups were selected from 36 applications. They're providing free access because they understand this problem is too big for one company to solve alone.
That's actually quite generous. Most tech companies would lock that down tighter than Fort Knox and charge everyone through the nose for access.
They would. But FinalSpark is taking a different approach. The research question driving all this work is deceptively simple. Can we make living neurons perform intended computations? Can we send instructions via electrical signals and receive meaningful results?
And if the answer is yes, what are the implications for businesses like the ones listening to us?
Your brain runs on roughly 20 watts of power. 20 watts. That's less than most LED light bulbs. A modern AI data center training large language models, we're talking megawatts, millions of watts.
Bloody hell. That's not just a difference, that's several orders of magnitude.
FinalSpark claims their biological processors could use 1 million times less power than traditional computing. That's a 99.9999% reduction. Some sources even cite up to 1 billion times more energy efficient. We don't have independent verification yet because the technology is still developmental, but the theoretical potential is staggering.
1 million times more efficient? That's not incremental improvement, that's fundamental transformation. When does my business benefit from this?
Hold on, Graham. I'm going to play devil's advocate here before you start planning your budget around cheaper cloud costs. This sounds brilliant in theory. What's the catch? Because there's always a catch with bleeding-edge technology.
You're absolutely right to be skeptical. Let me be crystal clear. FinalSpark isn't selling neuron-based computers next week. This technology is early, really early.
Define really early for those of us who might be getting excited about slashing our Azure bills.
They've published peer-reviewed research that reached the top 1% of most read articles in Frontier's journal. They've built APIs and documentation. They've created a Discord community with over 1,200 members discussing biocomputing developments.
But
the neurons they work with survive for up to 100 days in active use. The computational tasks they perform are simple compared to what modern processors handle. The infrastructure required to maintain living neurons is complex and expensive.
So we're talking laboratory proof of concept rather than commercial product.
Exactly. They've even built a demonstration application called FinalSpark Butterfly, where you can control a virtual butterfly's movement using actual living neurons. Sounds like a gimmick, but it's proof that biological processing can create predictable, controllable outputs.
All right, so realistic timeline for small businesses to care about this. I'm assuming it's not next quarter or even next year.
In the next 12 months, nothing. Ignore biocomputing entirely. Focus on the security basics most businesses are probably still getting wrong. Multi-factor authentication, proper backups, cyber essential certification.
that's refreshingly honest. Most people in our industry would be hyping this as the next big thing businesses need to jump on immediately.
I've been in technology for over 40 years. Around 2007, when the iPhone launched, I watched people dismiss it as an expensive toy. Why would anyone need a touchscreen computer in their pocket when BlackBerry works perfectly fine? Now try running a business without mobile devices.
What about 2 to 5 years out? When should I start actually paying attention?
I've also watched total internet reliance transform from an optional luxury to a business requirement. Seen Netflix kill Blockbuster. Watched electric cars go from expensive toys to practical transport. I've learned to distinguish between scientifically fascinating and commercially viable. FinalSpark is currently the former, working towards the latter.
So 2 to 5 years.
Start watching for early commercial applications. These won't be general-purpose computers. They'll be specialized processors for specific tasks where biological computing offers clear advantages. Possibly medical diagnostics, perhaps certain types of pattern recognition.
And 5 to 10 years?
If biocomputing proves commercially viable, you'll start seeing the benefits without actively choosing them. Your cloud providers will incorporate biological processors into their infrastructure. Your costs decrease. Your capabilities increase. You won't buy biocomputers any more than you currently buy specific processor architectures.
So the smart money isn't on betting which future happens. The smart money is on building a business that can adapt to whichever future arrives.
Exactly right. And that brings me to something I've been thinking about since I first read about FinalSpark.
Go on then. I can hear the paranoid cybersecurity brain starting to fire on all cylinders.
How do you secure a computer made from living cells?
Bloody hell, I hadn't even considered that angle. That's not a normal IT security question, is it?
Can you hack biological neural networks? What would that even look like?
Do you need to understand neuroscience to exploit vulnerabilities in bioprocessors? If someone breaches a living computer system, is it a cyber attack or biological warfare?
Right, and what happens when these systems process sensitive data? Can you wipe a neuron's memory? Can you verify it's actually been wiped?
How do you conduct forensic analysis on biological computing substrates? Can you take a snapshot of living tissue for investigation?
I have precisely zero answers to these questions. So does everyone else. We're building the ship whilst sailing it, and the sharks are already circling.
The cybersecurity industry is barely keeping up with traditional computing threats. Now we're potentially adding an entirely new attack surface that combines biology, electronics, and information technology.
I can already imagine the nightmare scenarios. Bioengineered neurons with deliberate backdoors. Malware that targets the interface between electrical and biological systems. Social engineering attacks that exploit how living neurons process information differently than silicon.
Some brilliant criminal is already thinking about this. Humans are wonderfully innovative when it comes to breaking things that other humans build.
What worries me most is that we don't have frameworks yet. With traditional computing, we've had decades to develop security standards, best practices, compliance requirements. With biocomputing, we're starting from scratch.
And we know from history what happens when we deploy powerful technologies before asking whether we should. We get problems that take generations to address.
The scientists at FinalSpark seem aware of these implications. They're working openly, publishing their methods, collaborating with universities. That's better than the alternative of secret corporate development.
But awareness isn't the same as answers.
Exactly. Which brings us to the uncomfortable ethical questions.
Oh good, because I was worried this conversation wasn't complex enough already.
We should probably talk about the ethics of growing human neurons for computational purposes.
These aren't neurons inside a functioning brain though, right? They're not conscious or anything like that.
They're not conscious, they're not sentient. They're biological cells performing biological functions. No different morally than the yeast we use to make bread, or the bacteria we engineer to produce insulin.
But they're human neurons, grown from human stem cells, processing information.
Where's the ethical line? If we can grow small collections of neurons, can we grow larger ones? How large should we be before we start worrying about whether the system might have experiences?
How do we even measure that? What constitutes consciousness in a biological system grown specifically for computation?
I don't have answers. Philosophy isn't my speciality, but I know enough about technology development to recognise when we're building something that outpaces our ethical frameworks.
These conversations should happen now, before the technology becomes ubiquitous. We can't wait until biological processors are everywhere and then start asking whether we should have built them.
Right, but here's what I keep coming back to. I've seen this pattern before. The mad ideas win more often than the sensible ones.
Go on.
Around 2007, when the iPhone launched, I watched people dismiss it as an expensive toy. Why would anyone need a touchscreen computer in their pocket when BlackBerry works perfectly fine? Now try running a business without mobile devices.
And the internet. I remembered when having a website was optional. Now, if you're not online, you basically don't exist.
Exactly. Netflix seemed ridiculous when it launched, posting DVDs through the mail. Who'd pay for that when Blockbuster exists? Then streaming arrived, and Blockbuster vanished.
Electric cars. For years they were expensive science projects with a terrible range. Now they're practical transport that's cheaper to run than petrol.
The breakthroughs come from people who ignore conventional wisdom about what's possible. FinalSpark might be the next mad idea that changes everything. Or it might be a costly dead end that teaches us why silicon computing remains superior.
Neither of us knows which. Nobody does. That's what makes it interesting.
Exactly. So what should small business owners listening to this actually do with this information?
Right, because technical speculation and philosophical wandering are all well and good, but people need actionable advice.
After everything we've discussed, here's what you should actually do. Nothing different.
Nothing different?
Secure your current systems properly. Implement proper backup strategies. Train your staff on cybersecurity basics. Achieve Cyber Essentials certification. Build an IT infrastructure that serves your business objectives.
So, the exciting developments in biocomputing don't change what I should do this quarter.
Not at all. The exciting developments in biocomputing don't change the fact that most UK small businesses still haven't done the tedious, essential security work that prevents 95% of attacks.
Exactly. But keep one eye on emerging technologies. Subscribe to a couple of technology news sources. Spend 15 minutes a month reading about developments that seem weird or impossible.
Build a mental model of where technology might be heading.
Yes, because when the paradigm shifts, it shifts fast. The companies that survive aren't the ones that predicted the exact future. They're the ones who built adaptable systems that could pivot when the future arrived unexpectedly.
So what specific milestones should people watch for with FinalSpark and biocomputing generally?
First, commercial partnership. When a major technology company pays FinalSpark for access to their platform, that signals belief from people with serious money at stake.
Published benchmarks. When peer-reviewed research demonstrates that biological processors outperform silicon on specific, practical tasks, that's evidence that this extends beyond laboratory curiosities.
Scaling demonstrations. When FinalSpark shows they can maintain thousands of neurons reliably for months, that proves the technology can survive outside carefully controlled research conditions.
Security framework. When credible researchers publish approaches to securing biocomputing systems, it shows the industry is taking this seriously enough to address fundamental challenges.
And energy validations. When independent analysis confirms the energy savings aren't just theoretical, but actually realised in practice, that proves the core value proposition.
Until those milestones are hit, this remains fascinating research with potential implications. After those milestones, it becomes technology with a commercial trajectory. Let me tie this all together. FinalSpark is pursuing biological computing using living human neurons. The science is real. The potential energy savings are extraordinary. The timeline to commercial viability is uncertain. The security implications are terrifying. The ethical questions are unresolved.
Your business won't buy biological computers next year. Probably not the year after. Possibly not within the next decade.
But the energy problem driving this research, that's real and immediate. Is the AI boom consuming exponentially more power? That's happening right now. The economic pressure to find sustainable computing alternatives, that's building every quarter.
Someone will solve the energy equation for computing. Maybe it's biological processes. Maybe it's quantum computing. Perhaps it's some approach we haven't imagined yet.
But someone will solve it, because the current trajectory is economically and environmentally unsustainable. I learned something about protecting digital infrastructure. The technologies that slash fundamental operating costs always migrate downstream.
What starts in research laboratories eventually reaches small businesses, usually faster than anyone expects.
So watch FinalSpark, not because you need to do anything about it today, but understanding where technology is heading helps you make better decisions about where to invest your limited resources.
Good security doesn't have to be expensive, but ignoring technological shifts whilst your competitors adapt, that's always costly.
Stay curious, stay skeptical, stay secure, and maybe keep one eye on the Swiss scientists growing computers in dishes.
After 40 years in this industry, I've learned that mad ideas sometimes win.
Especially the really mad ones.
Right then, let's wrap this up with some practical takeaways for everyone listening.
First takeaway. The energy crisis in computing is real, and it's going to affect your costs. Watch for solutions, whether they're biological, quantum, or something else entirely.
Second, emerging technologies always create new security challenges. Start thinking about how you'll adapt your security posture when these new computing paradigms arrive.
Third, don't chase shiny objects. Focus on getting the basics right. Multi-factor authentication, proper backups, staff training, and cyber essentials. These fundamentals matter more than following every new technology trend.
Fourth, build adaptable systems. The future is uncertain, but businesses that can pivot quickly when paradigms shift are the ones that survive.
And finally, keep learning. Technology moves fast. 15 minutes a month staying informed about emerging developments pays dividends when those developments suddenly become relevant to your business.
If you want to dive deeper into the FinalSpark story, we've got a comprehensive blog post on our website with all the technical details, source verification, and links to the research. Head over to thesmallbusinesscybersecurityguy.co.uk to read more.
And if you found this episode valuable, do us a favour. Leave a review on whatever platform you're listening on. Reviews genuinely help other small business owners find us. Takes 30 seconds, makes a real difference.
Subscribe if you haven't already. We release new episodes regularly, covering everything from practical security basics to weird Swiss laboratories growing computers.
Comment with your thoughts. Do you think biocomputing is the future or an expensive dead end? We actually read the comments, and sometimes your questions become future episodes.
Until then, lovely listeners, stay secure, stay curious, and remember, the mad ideas sometimes win.
Especially the really mad ones.
The Small Business Cybersecurity Guy podcast is produced for educational and informational purposes. All information provided is believed to be accurate at the time of recording, but cybersecurity is a rapidly evolving field. Listeners should verify current information and seek professional advice specific to their circumstances. The hosts and producers are not liable for actions taken based on information provided in this podcast. Always implement cybersecurity measures appropriate to your business needs and risk profile. Copyright 2025. All rights reserved.
Thanks for listening. We're signing off. Stay cyber safe no matter the cost. The Small Biz Cyber Guy says goodbye. Until next time, keep your day